Why Philippines is called the rising tiger? Why Philippines is called the rising tiger? The Philippines has always been stellar in terms of economic progress worldwide. We were once called the Asia's rising tiger because of our fast-growing economy, with an average annual growth rate of 6 to 7% each year, a title we had for so long until the pandemic hit our economy and the global economy. Is the Philippines still a rising tiger? The Philippines is Asia's rising tiger. It is among the world's fastest-growing economies with average annual growth of 6 to 7% per year, with no signs of slowing down in the foreseeable future. When did Philippines become the rising tiger of Asia? 1960s. In the 1960s, the Philippines, Sri Lanka and Myanmar were considered as the tiger of Asia economies as all three countries were experiencing high growth. What is tiger economy in the Philippines? Today the Philippines is known as one of the tiger cub countries of Asia, strongly emerging economies in the region with abundant wealth in human and natural resources, fast catching up with the more established tiger economies of Hong Kong, Japan, Singapore and Taiwan. Why is it called a tiger economy? The economic growth in each of the Asian tiger nations is usually export-led but with sophisticated financial and trading hubs. The phrase, tiger economy, has since been expanded to describe any small, outperforming economy that has undergone rapid development. What does tiger stand for in economics? The term economic tigers, also known as the Asian tigers or Asian dragons, refers to Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, and Hong Kong. These four nations transformed from low-income to advanced economies, rich countries, from the 1960s to 1990s. How is Philippine economy now? Philippine GDP expanded by a faster-than-expected 8.3% in the first quarter, a turnaround from the 3.8% contraction a year earlier. It was also faster than the 7.8% growth in the fourth quarter of 2021. Is the Philippine economy improving? Manila, Philippines, April 6, 2022. The Philippines' economic recovery is expected to gain traction this year and the next, underpinned by rising domestic investment and consumption as pandemic restrictions eased, allowing for more manufacturing and construction activities, according to a new report released by the Why it is called as tiger economy? Why Philippines and Thailand were considered tiger cub economies in the 1990s? Malaysia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Indonesia are sometimes referred to as the tiger cub economies, because while they have developed more slowly than the four Asian tigers in the decades since the 1950s, they have nonetheless grown at a steady rate. Is the Philippines rising? Southeast Asian countries' gross domestic product expands 8.3% in first quarter. The Philippines' economy grew faster than expected in the first quarter, boosting expectations of interest rate hikes to curb rising inflation, a key challenge facing the country's newly elected president. Why Philippines and Thailand were considered tiger cub economies in the 1990s? Why are the four tigers important to international business? The four Asian tigers refer to some of the strongest economies in the world: Hong Kong, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. These four economies experienced rapid industrialization and lightning-fast development. Is the Philippine economy improving 2022? Manila, the Philippine economy expanded by 8.3% in the first quarter of 2022 from a year earlier, as relaxed pandemic restrictions helped consumption after the January Omicron outbreak. What drives the Philippine economy? With increasing urbanization, a growing middle class, and a large and young population, the Philippines' economic dynamism is rooted in strong consumer demand supported by a vibrant labor market and robust remittances. What is a rising tiger economy? A tiger economy is a term commonly used to describe several booming economies in Southeast Asia. The Asian tiger economies typically include Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. The economic growth in each of the Asian tiger nations is usually export-led but with sophisticated financial and trading hubs. Philippine economy will enjoy huge growth by 2030. The Philippine economy will grow by a huge amount before 2030 and become one of Southeast Asia's largest. Meanwhile, a burgeoning middle class and strong industry are supporting optimism among both individual and corporate investors. Sure, the Philippines hasn't received global coverage for positive reasons lately. Geopolitical disputes with China and drug crackdowns are what makes headlines on BBC or Fox News. But the Philippine economy is a completely different story. It's averaged GDP growth well above 6% per year over the past decade. That pace is set to continue. Better yet, they haven't had a single year of recession since 1998. A conservative estimate says GDP will grow by 6% between 2018 and 2020. Per capita GDP could double to $6,000 a year by 2023 if this rate is sustained. That's very possible even in case of yet another global recession. By 2029, the size of the Philippine economy would more than triple from $310 billion in 2015 to over $1 trillion. The Philippine economy has a strong record of growth lasting several decades. One reason for the Philippine economic boom is that policymakers are actually learning from their neighbors, both in terms of what works and doesn't. The government is capable of successfully implementing projects and laws. Not exactly a common thing in emerging markets. For example, Philippines' foreign property ownership laws are based off Thailand's. Using an existing framework means investors are more confident in its practice. Master-planned areas like Bonifacio Global City are reminiscent of Singapore or Dubai. It's a painfully slow process at times. But very surely, old rules and institutions are being replaced with better ones. The future, Philippine economy Indiana 2030. The future, Philippine economy Indiana 2030. Today, important drivers of growth for the Philippine economy are the outsourcing sector. A strong flow of remittances from workers living abroad also contributes billions of dollars every year. Both activities are helped by a large pool of university-educated workers. Workers boast superb English language skills compared to the rest of Asia too. There's only two places in the world where you can find an abundance of capable English speakers at such a competitive price: India and the Philippines. Revenue from business process outsourcing, BPO, more than doubled between 2008 and 2014. Fast-paced growth of this sector aids development in metro areas, with Manila and Cebu now among the world's top BPO hubs. Furthermore, offshore remittances from Filipino workers abroad grew to a record high of $26.9 billion in 2017. This money directly supports consumer spending and residential property construction back home. Looking toward the long term, the Philippine economy's development will depend on its industrial competitiveness. The nation's ability to maintain high efficiency and attract foreign investment matters immensely. There's a lot of work left. The Philippines ranks low globally on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business rankings and many other key metrics. Major issues like unemployment, bad infrastructure, and corruption all still remain. The Philippine economy is headed in the right direction though.